The discovery the silent sector Omega-7 hung in the galactic charts like a scar. For 150 years, no vessel had been permitted to cross its boundaries. The Galactic Coalition had declared it forbidden territory after the disappearance of 3 exploration fleets within a single solar cycle. No distress signals, no wreckage, no survivors, just silence, vast and complete. Captain Vexter of the Krillian scout vessel Sentinels. I had patrolled the outer boundaries of Omega-7 for 6 standard years. In all that time, he had never seen anything unusual. The sector simply existed, dark and untouched, like a hole in the fabric of space itself. His crew had grown complacent, treating the patrol route as routine duty rather than hazardous assignment. That changed when Ensign Ralmik detected the signal. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," the young Krillian called from the sensor station. His secondary arms moved rapidly across the controls while his primary hand steadied himself against the console. "It's a transmission signal, very faint, coming from inside the Forbidden Zone." Vexter rose from his command chair, his tall frame casting long shadows in the dimmed bridge lighting. "That's impossible. There's nothing in Omega-7. Run a diagnostic on your equipment." "I've already run 3 diagnostics, sir." "The signal is real." Ralmik's voice carried a tremor of uncertainty. "And Captain, the transmission signature matches human origin." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member turned to look at the captain. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 70 years ago. They were known for their curiosity and reckless bravery, but even humans respected the forbidden zones. At least, they were supposed to. "Show me," Vexter commanded. Moving to stand behind the sensor station, the holographic display materialized above the console, showing the swirling nebula clouds that marked the edge of Omega-7. Deep within the sector, a small blip pulsed steadily. The data stream confirmed what Ralmik had reported. Human technology, human power signatures, human construction materials. "How long has it been transmitting?" Vexter asked. "Unknown, sir. We only just entered range to detect it. Based on signal strength and degradation patterns, the source could have been active for decades. Maybe longer." Vexter felt his triple hearts beating in different rhythms, a sign of stress among his people. A human ship inside Omega-7 represented a violation of Coalition law. But more than that, it represented a mystery that gnawed at his scientific mind. How had a human vessel survived where entire Krillian and Nexari fleets had vanished? "Gather the senior staff in the briefing room," he ordered. "We need to decide our next course of action." The impossible decision 20 minutes later, Vexter faced his assembled officers. Chief Engineer Tolvin, a stocky Krillian with scarred chitin plates from years of reactor work. Science Officer Morales, whose 4 eyes could perceive wavelengths of light invisible to most species. Tactical Officer Krenzix, young but sharp, with reflexes that had saved the ship more than once. And Medical Officer Physician Silvana, the only non-Krillian aboard, a Lumerian whose healing abilities were legendary. "You've all seen the data," Vexter began without preamble. "A human vessel is transmitting from inside the forbidden sector. I want options." "We report it to Coalition Command and let them handle it," Krenzix said immediately. "That's protocol, and protocol exists for good reason. By the time Coalition Command mobilizes a response team, that ship might be gone," Morales countered. Her multiple eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought. "Or worse, whatever took the other ships might take it too. If there are humans alive on that vessel, they may not have much time. If there are humans alive on that vessel, they've survived inside Omega-7 longer than anyone else in recorded history," Tolvin added. "That alone makes investigation worthwhile. They might have information about what's in there." Sylvana's luminescent skin pulsed with concern. We're talking about entering a region of space that has destroyed everyone who's tried. I took an oath to preserve life, not throw it away on a rescue mission that might be a trap. A trap? Exter raised his brow ridges. Set by whom? I don't know, Captain. That's precisely what worries me. We don't know what's in Omega-7. We've never known. Sending this ship and crew into that unknown could be suicide. Vexter looked at each of his officers in turn. They were good people, all of them. They had served together for years, trusted each other with their lives. Whatever decision he made would affect all of them. I'm not ordering anyone to come with me, he said quietly. But I'm going in. I can't ignore a distress signal, even one coming from inside a forbidden zone. That goes against everything I believe as a captain and as a Krillian. We help those in need. That's our way. Krenzik stood first. Then I'm with you, Captain. Someone needs to watch your back. One by one, the others rose as well. Even Sylvana, despite her concerns, nodded her agreement. Foolish, perhaps, the Lemurian said with a faint smile. But I've never known you to make safe choices when lives are at stake. I'm with you. Vexter felt pride swell in his chest. Then we go together. Tolvin, prepare the ship for anomalous spatial conditions. Morales, I want continuous scans from the moment we cross the boundary. Krenzix, keep weapons ready, but don't power them up unless I give explicit orders. If something is watching that sector, I don't want to appear threatening. And the Coalition? Sylvana asked. We send a data package with our intentions and current sensor readings. If we don't report back within 48 hours, they'll know what happened to us. Into the Forbidden Zone, the Sentinel's eye crossed the boundary of Sector Omega-7 3 hours later. Vexter sat in his command chair, watching the view screen as they penetrated the swirling nebula clouds. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back. His ancestors had been hunters on the plains of Krill Prime, and those ancient survival instincts still lived in his genetic memory. This place felt wrong. Captain, I'm reading gravitational anomalies, Morales reported. Multiple distortions in space-time, scattered throughout the sector. It's like the fabric of space has been damaged somehow. Can we navigate through them? Yes, but it will be slow going. If we hit one of these distortions at full speed, it could tear the ship apart. Take us in at 1/4 impulse. Steady as she goes. The ship moved deeper into the sector. The nebula clouds grew thicker, reducing visibility. Strange energy readings flickered across the sensors. Vexter noticed his crew growing more tense with each passing minute. Even Krenzix, usually unflappable in combat situations, kept checking and rechecking his tactical displays. I've got the source vessel on long-range scanners, Ralnick announced. Bearing 27-Mark-5. Distance, 40,000 kilocums enclosing. On screen. The view screen shifted, magnifying the distant image. At first, it was just a speck among the clouds. But as they drew closer, details emerged. The ship was human in design, sleek and angular in the way human vessels tended to be. But something was different about it. The whole configuration didn't match any known human ship class in the Galactic Coalition database. Morales, are you seeing this? Vexter asked. Yes, Captain. That design is wrong. The power core placement, the engine configuration, the sensor array positioning. All of it is advanced beyond current human technology by at least 2 decades. Maybe more. Could it be a prototype? Possibly. But humans don't usually field test prototypes in forbidden sectors. And look at the hull integrity. That ship shows no signs of damage. No scoring from weapons fire, no impact craters from debris, no thermal stress from atmospheric entry. It's pristine. How long has it been here? Asterisk Based on the cosmic ray exposure on the hull and the degradation of its power signature, I'd estimate at least 140 years. Give or take a decade. Vexthur's minds raced. 140 years. That would place the ship's arrival around the same time Omega-7 was declared forbiddance, before humans had even achieved faster-than-light travel by conventional means. Nothing about this made sense? Life signs? He asked. Sylvana studied her medical scanners, her bioluminescence flickering with concentration. I'm detecting faint biological readings, but they're strange. Almost like suspended animation signatures, but the patterns are irregular. I can't tell if anyone's alive without getting closer. Take us in. Prepare a boarding team. I want Krenzik's, 2 security officers, Sylvana, and myself. Tolvin, you have the ship while we're gone. The engineer nodded grimly. Tried to come back in one piece, Captain. The Defiant Dawn, they docked with the human vessel 30 minutes later. The ship bore a name on its hull, painted in human script. Defiant Dawn. Vexthur noted the irony. Dawn suggested beginning, hope, new light. Yet this ship had spent over a century trapped in darkness. Asterisk. The boarding team suited up in environmental gear and moved through the airlock. The moment Vexthur stepped aboard the human ship, he felt the temperature drop. His suit's sensors registered near-freezing conditions, far below normal human comfort levels. Emergency lighting flickered weakly in the corridors, casting everything in shades of red. Atmosphere is present, but thin, Sylvana reported. Oxygen levels at 40%. Temperature minus 15 degrees standard. Someone's been managing life support systems, but barely. They moved cautiously through the corridors. The ship was smaller than the Sentinel's Eye, designed for a crew of perhaps 30 humans. Signs of habitation were everywhere. Personal items secured to walls. Photographs in protected frames. A child's toy floating in zero gravity, tethered by a cord. These people lived here, Krenzix observed quietly. This wasn't just a military vessel. There were families aboard. Vexthur felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. What kind of mission required bringing families into deep space? What had these humans been attempting? They reached the bridge. It was dark except for a single console that pulsed with weak light. Vexthur approached carefully and accessed the human computer system. To his surprise, it responded immediately, as if it had been waiting for someone to arrive. A voice emerged from the speakers. Female, tired, but clear. If you're hearing this, then someone finally found us. My name is Commander Sarah Chun of the United Earth vessel, Defiant Dawn. This message has been playing on repeat for 152 years. 4 months and 17 days, according to the ship's chronometer. If you've come looking for us, you need to know the truth about this sector. You need to know what we've been protecting you from. And you need to know why we can never leave. The recording paused. Vexthur exchanged glances with his team. Then Commander Chun's voice continued, and what she said next would change everything. They thought they knew about the forbidden sector and the desperate sacrifice of one human crew. Asterisk. The truth revealed, 2,000 words. The commander's message, Commander Sarah. Chun's voice filled the silent bridge of the Defiant Dawn. Vexthur stood motionless, his hand still resting on the console as the recording played. Behind him, his boarding team listened with growing unease. We launched from Earth Station Prime on March 15, 2089. Our mission was classified at the highest levels. Even most of my crew didn't know the full scope until we were 3 weeks into deep space. We were testing a revolutionary faster-than-light drive system, something that would make human exploration of the galaxy possible decades ahead of schedule. The recording crackled with interference, then stabilized. A prototype drive worked. God help us It actually worked. We achieved speeds no human vessel had ever reached. We crossed light years in days instead of decades. But there was a problem we didn't anticipate. The drive didn't just push us through normal space. It created tears in the fabric of space-time itself. Small ones at first, barely detectable. But they grew larger with each jump. Vexter felt his blood run cold. Tears in space-time. That explained the gravitational anomalies Morales had detected throughout the sector. By the time we realized what was happening, we were already deep in what you probably call the forbidden sector. We tried to turn back, but during our final jump, something went catastrophically wrong. The drive opened a massive rift in space, a tear that began expanding immediately. We could see it consuming matter, twisting reality itself. If we didn't stop it, our calculations showed it would expand to consume the nearest inhabited systems within 50 years. Billions of lives. The voice paused. When it resumed, there was steel in Commander Chon's tone. So we made a choice. We couldn't close the rift completely, but we could stabilize it. We reconfigured our ship's entire power core to generate a containment field around the tier. It's been holding for over a century now, but it requires constant power. If this ship dies, the field collapses. If the field collapses, the rift expands. That's why we put ourselves in suspended animation, rotating crew members to maintain the systems while keeping our life support needs minimal. Sylvana moved closer to Vexter. Captain, if what she's saying is true, this ship has been protecting the entire sector for 150 years. These humans sacrificed everything to contain a disaster they accidentally created. There's more, Krenzik said, pointing at the console. The recording is still playing. Commander Chun's voice continued. If you're hearing this message, it means you've detected our distress beacon. We set it to activate automatically if our power reserves dropped below critical levels. That day has apparently come. I'm sorry to burden you with this, but someone needs to know the truth. The Galactic Coalition declared this sector forbidden because ships kept disappearing, but they never understood why. It wasn't some mysterious force killing them. It was the rift. Anyone who got too close was pulled in, torn apart by gravitational shear forces. The recording shifted. Background sounds suggested someone moving through the ship. To whoever finds this message, you have a choice to make. You can leave us here and let the containment field fail. The rift will expand slowly at first, but eventually it will become unstoppable. Or you can help us. Wake my crew from suspension. Give us the resources to properly seal this tier permanently. We've had 150 years to think about the problem. We know what needs to be done. We just don't have the power or materials to do it alone. The message ended with coordinates and technical specifications for the containment field. Vexter studied the data streaming across the console. The mathematics was complex, but the conclusion was clear. The humans were telling the truth. Their ship was the only thing preventing a catastrophic spatial collapse. What do we do, Captain? Krenzik asked. Before Vexter could answer, Morales' voice crackled over the communication link from the Sentinel's eye. Captain, I'm detecting multiple vessels entering the sector. Coalition warships. They must have tracked our signal. Vexter cursed softly in his native language. The Coalition responding this quickly meant someone high up had been watching Omega-7 closely. Someone who didn't want the truth getting out. How long until they reach us? 20 minutes at their current speed. 20 minutes to make a decision that would affect billions of lives across multiple star systems. Vexter turned to Sylvana. Can you wake them? The humans in suspension? The Lumerian studied her medical scanner. Yes, but it will take time. The process must be gradual to avoid neural damage. I'd need at least an hour for the first person, several more hours for the full crew. Asterisk, then we start now. Wake Commander Chun first. Krenzix, help Sylvana locate the suspension chambers. I need to speak with the Coalition vessels. The Chamber of Sleep, the suspension chambers were located in the ship's lower deck, behind multiple sealed doors. The boarding team worked quickly, cutting through locks that had been closed for over a century. When they finally reached the main chamber, Vexter stopped in his tracks. Dozens of transparent pods lined the walls, each containing a human in deep stasis. Men, women, some barely more than children. Their faces were peaceful, as if merely sleeping. But frost covered the pod's surfaces, and ice crystals had formed in their hair and on their skin. How many? Vexter asked quietly. 27, Sylvana replied. The ship's full crew. They've all been here since the beginning. She moved to the nearest pod, checking the medical readouts. This one is Commander Chun. Her vital signs are stable, considering the circumstances. Beginning revival protocol now. While Sylvana worked, Vexter returned to the bridge and opened a communication channel to the approaching Coalition vessels. The face that appeared on the screen made his heart sink. Admiral Vexarone, commander of the Coalition's enforcement fleet. A hard man known for following orders without question or mercy. Captain Vexter, the Admiral said coldly. You are ordered to patrol the boundary of the forbidden sector, not enter it. Explain yourself. Admiral, I detected a distress signal from a human vessel. I had to investigate. A convenient excuse. You violated direct Coalition orders. I'm placing you under arrest. You and your crew will return to your ship immediately and follow my vessels back to Coalition space for court-martial. I can't do that, Admiral. Vexarone's face darkened. You're refusing a direct order? I'm refusing to let billions of people die because the Coalition wants to hide an uncomfortable truth. There's a spatial rift in this sector, Admiral. It's been here for 150 years, held closed by the humans aboard this vessel. If we don't help them seal it permanently, it will eventually collapse and destroy everything within 100 light years. I'm aware of the rift, Captain. The Coalition has known about it since it first appeared. We declared this sector forbidden, specifically to prevent anyone from interfering with the humans' containment efforts. Their sacrifice has been noted and honored. Vexter felt rage building in his chest. Honored? You left them here to die alone? You knew they were protecting the galaxy, and you did nothing to help them? We did what was necessary. The humans volunteered for this mission. They understood the risks. And yes, we've monitored them over the decades. But revealing the truth would have caused panic across dozens of worlds. Better to let them remain heroes no one knows about than create a crisis that might destroy the Coalition itself. That's not honor, Admiral. That's cowardice. Vexarone's expression turned dangerous. You're on thin ice, Captain. Return to your vessel now, or I'll have my ships disable both yours and the human derelict. The humans will return to suspension, and you'll face charges of treason. The communication cut off. Vexter stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. Behind him, he heard footsteps. He turned to find Sylvana supporting a weak, disoriented human woman. Commander Sarah Chun. The Commander Awakens Commander Chun looked much older than her recorded message suggested. Her hair, once dark, had gone gray. Her face bore lines that spoke of decades of stress and worry, even in suspension. But her eyes were clear and sharp. You came, she said weakly. Her voice was rough from disuse. I wasn't sure anyone would. How much do you remember? Vexter asked. Everything up to entering suspension. After that, just dreams. Endless dreams of the rift, of the ship, of home. She looked around the bridge, taking in the alien faces. You're not human. Krillian? Yes, I'm Captain Vexter of the Sentinel's Eye. We received your distress beacon. How long has it been? 152 years since your mission began. Chun closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them again, they were wet with tears. Did it work? Is Earth still safe? Earth is safe. Your containment field held. But, Commander, we have a problem. Vexter explained the situation quickly. The Coalition's arrival. Admiral Vexerone's threats. The order to abandon the Defiant Dawn and leave the humans in suspension. Shun's expression hardened. Of course. Can't let the truth come out. Can't admit they knew about us and did nothing. She pushed away from Sylvana, standing on her own despite obvious weakness. How much power do we have left? According to your systems, approximately 48 hours before critical failure. Then we have 48 hours to fix this permanently. She moved to a console and began typing rapidly. I've spent a century and a half thinking about this problem. We have a solution, but we need help. Your ship's power core, combined with ours, can generate enough energy to collapse the rift safely. It won't be easy, and it won't be safe, but it can be done. The Admiral won't allow it, and we don't give him a choice. Chun pulled up a schematic of the sector. Look here. The rift is directly between us and the nearest inhabited system. If the Admiral attacks us and damages our containment field, the rift expands immediately. His ships would be the first to be consumed. He knows this. It's why they've left us alone all these years. Vexter studied the display. She was right. Vexerone's ships were positioned dangerously close to the rift's expansion radius. You're suggesting we threaten to drop the containment field unless they help us? I'm suggesting we tell them the truth and give them the choice to be heroes or cowards. Your Admiral is a military man. He understands sacrifice. Make him understand this is his chance to end the threat permanently, instead of just delaying the inevitable. Krenzik stepped forward. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the Admiral. He's demanding a response within 5 minutes, or he opens fire. Chun looked at Vexter. What's it going to be, Captain? Follow orders and let this crisis continue? Or trust a human who's been dead to the galaxy for over a century? Vexter thought of his crew, his ship, his career. Everything he'd worked for would be gone if he defied the Admiral. But he also thought of the billions of lives hanging in the balance. The families on worlds that would burn if the rift expanded. The children who deserved a future not shadowed by an ever-growing tear in reality. He opened the communication channel. Admiral Vexerone, this is Captain Vexter. I have Commander Sarah Chun of the Defiant Dawn here with me. She has a proposal that you need to hear. The desperate alliance, the next 6 hours were a blur of frantic negotiation and technical preparation. Admiral Vexerone initially refused to listen, threatening immediate military action. But when Commander Chun showed him the calculations, demonstrated the rift's inevitable expansion, and proved that permanent closure was possible, something shifted in the Admiral's expression. If we do this and fail, we could accelerate the rift's expansion, Vexerone said. If we do nothing, the expansion is guaranteed, Chun countered. Just slower. Your grandchildren's grandchildren will face the same crisis, except by then the rift will be too large to stop. This is our chance. Our one chance. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Then, what do you need? Commander Chun smiled for the first time since waking. Everything you've got. The Coalition vessels moved into position around the Defiant Dawn. Vexter worked alongside human and Krillian engineers, connecting power conduits between ships. Sylvana woke the rest of Chun's crew, each human emerging from suspension with the same questions, the same shock, the same determination to finish what they'd started. The plan was elegantly simple, but terrifyingly dangerous. They would link all available ships' power cores into a single massive energy grid. The Defiant Dawn would channel that energy through its modified FTL drive, essentially using the same technology that created the rift to collapse it. The spatial tier would be sealed by reversing the process that opened it, but the energy requirements were enormous. Every calculation showed there was barely enough power available. And if anything went wrong, if the field destabilized during the collapse, the resulting explosion would vaporize every ship in the sector. "Ready when you are, Commander," Vexter said from his position on the bridge of the Sentinel's Eye. Chun stood on the bridge of the Defiant Dawn, surrounded by her crew. They looked weak, pale, but their eyes burned with purpose. They had waited 150 years for this moment. "All ships begin power transfer on my mark," Chun said. 3, 2, 1, mark. Energy surged through the connected vessels. The Defiant Dawn's ancient drive systems roared to life, drawing power from every available source. On Vexter's displays, he watched as the rift became visible, a swirling tear in space-time that hurt to look at directly. The human ship directed a focused beam of energy directly into the rift's center. The spatial tier convulsed, growing briefly larger. Alarms screamed across every ship. "Hold the line!" Chun shouted. "Don't stop the transfer." The rift contracted suddenly, shrinking to half its original size. Then it pulsed again, expanding and contracting like a beating heart. The Defiant Dawn shook violently. Hull plates buckled. Systems overloaded. "Commander, your ship can't take much more," Vexter warned. "Just a little longer?" Chun's hands moved across her controls. "I can feel it. The rift is responding. It wants to close. It's been fighting against its own expansion all this time." The spatial tier gave one final violent shudder. Then, with a flash of light that momentarily blinded every sensor in the sector, it collapsed. Not gradually, but instantly, winking out of existence, as if it had never been. Silence fell across the communication channels. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see if the closure would hold. Seconds passed. Then minutes. The spatial readings remained stable. The gravitational anomalies that had plagued the sector for 150 years were gone. "It worked," Morales whispered from the Sentinel's Eye science station. "The rift is sealed. Completely sealed." A cheer erupted across every ship's communication channel. Humans embraced each other on the Defiant Dawn. Krillian crew members performed traditional victory gestures. Even Admiral Vexerone allowed himself a small smile. Vexter opened a private channel to Commander Chun. "You did it. Your crew saved the galaxy." Chun's face appeared on his screen. She looked exhausted beyond measure, but at peace. "No, Captain. We all did it. Together. That's what I've learned in my century and a half of isolation. No species can face the universe's greatest challenges alone. We need each other." Epilogue 3 months later, Captain Vexter stood in the Coalition Assembly Hall, wearing his full dress uniform. The chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all gathered to witness a historic moment. Admiral Vexerone stepped forward and addressed the assembly. "Today, we honor the crew of the Defiant Dawn, who sacrificed 150 years of their lives to protect the galaxy from a threat most of us never knew existed. We also recognize Captain Vexter and the crew of the Sentinel's Eye, who risked everything to help these humans complete their mission." Commander Sarah Chun and her crew stood in a row, wearing new uniforms provided by the Coalition. They looked healthier now, having spent months in rehabilitation, but they still carried themselves with the quiet dignity of people who had stared into the abyss and refused to blink. Asterisk. "The Coalition kept secrets that should not have been kept," Vexeron continued. "We allowed brave humans to suffer alone because we feared the political consequences of truth. That ends today. From this moment forward, the Coalition commits to transparency, cooperation, and mutual support among all species. The age of hidden sacrifices is over. The assembly erupted in applause. Vexther watched as medals were presented to Chun and her crew, as they were officially welcomed as full members of the Galactic Coalition. Humanity's status in the galactic community rose overnight. They were no longer the newcomers, the upstart species. They were heroes who had saved billions of lives. Later, at a private reception, Sean approached Vexther with 2 glasses of human champagne. "Thank you," she said simply, "for trusting us, for believing we were worth saving." "Thank you for showing us what courage truly means," Vexther replied. "Your crew's sacrifice changed how we see humanity, and how we see ourselves." Shun smiled. "You know what's funny? We went into that sector trying to prove human technological superiority. We thought our advanced FTL drive would make us equals with the older species. Instead, we learned that the greatest technology means nothing without compassion, cooperation, and trust. Your species has taught the galaxy a valuable lesson. And yours too, Captain. You risked your career, your life, everything to do what was right. That's not a human value or a Krillian value. That's universal." They touched glasses and drank. Around them, humans and aliens mingled freely, sharing stories and laughter. The barriers between species seemed to dissolve in the warmth of shared victory. Outside the assembly hall's windows, stars shone brightly in the night sky. Somewhere out there, in what was once the forbidden sector, space was healing. The wound in reality had closed, leaving barely a scar. The defiant dawn had been towed to a museum, where it would stand as a monument to sacrifice and cooperation. But more importantly, in hearts and minds across the galaxy, something fundamental had shifted. Species that had viewed each other with suspicion now saw potential allies. Problems that seemed insurmountable now appeared solvable through cooperation. One human ship, lost for over a century, had finally come home. And in doing so, it had brought the entire galaxy together. Vexther looked at Commander Chun and raised his glass once more. "To the defiant dawn, may its legacy light the way forward for all of us." "To the future," Chun replied, "whatever it may bring." And in that moment, with humans and aliens standing together, the future looked brighter than it ever had before. Asterisk.